watching Afternoon Live. Is it possible to not feel old as you get older? Can you reverse the aging process? Our next guest says yes. So here with more, we welcome the author of Harnessing the 9 Hallmarks of Aging. Greg Macpherson is with us today. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Great to be on the show.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone is wondering, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this?
Got it. Well, look, it's to tackle the 9 hallmarks of aging, it's all about doing the right things and doing more of them. So we all know about things like exercising and eating well, but there's new things like new supplements that we can take now, which are available to us for the first time in, I guess, human history, if you will. So these are supplements that help us manage our DNA and look after them, help our cells repair themselves, and these things just help us live a lot longer.
What are they?
So there's something called hobamine, which is a ingredient that comes from Himalayan Tartary buckwheat, and this is a compound that's been in the diet in the Himalayas for generations. And what we've learnt is that there's an extract that comes out of it that protects our cells in a way that we haven't had access to before. And what it does essentially is it's like sunscreen for the DNA and the cellular components inside our cells, and it just provides that extra bit of protection that our cells need.
So it helps you live longer?
So that hasn't been proven yet, but what we're seeing is that it just reduces the amount of wear and tear on our cells and just protects them. So that just means that we may not get to live a whole bunch longer, but what we're going to do is live a whole lot healthier, which is really the main thing.
Yeah, your book is the 9 Hallmarks. Is there one that you can touch on today that you find is the most important?
Like, I'm really a big fan of the DNA and DNA, which we all know is this little molecule inside our cells that is the instruction set, if you will, which tells our cells what to do. And it turns out that actually the way our DNA ages has a really significant impact on how healthy we are as we age. So that's the one to look after, and you can look after it by doing things like exercising and eating well, but taking things like hobamine that I talked about, but also boosting levels of a key enzyme called NAD, which is something we can all do with supplements called NR or NMN, and these things help protect our DNA.
You talk about the blue zones. I find this really interesting. Can you share what those are?
Yeah, blue zones are 5 areas around the world where people live much longer and much healthier than the rest of us. And so researchers went in and had a good close look at the blue zones to understand what these people were doing that's different to the rest of us. And they came up with some really interesting things. I mean, these people were building exercise into their daily life, so they were moving all the time. They had a plant-based diet, so and we're learning more and more that potentially that sort of vegetarian diet is actually incredibly good for us. They never ate until they're full, and that's really important. We, in the Western world, never really get hungry. So actually by being hungry, you trigger a whole bunch of really important biological cascades in our body, which just keep us healthy. And then the other thing they did, which was a little strange, was they had their biggest meal of the day in the morning, which is quite different to the rest of us.
That is different. You know, they talk about you said exercise, how that's one of the components, and I think everyone has a different definition of what exercise is. What do you need to be doing in order to combat this aging process?
Yeah, look, it can be as little as well, it's as much as you can do, right? So obviously some people it's difficult, but if you can do 5 minutes, but build it up to 30 minutes of even just gentle walking a day, that is going to be really significant. And the other thing too is just little hacks like, standing up at your desk, getting up to turn the channel on the TV, little things like that, which are just small things, but if you do them regularly, it's going to compound and benefit you over the long term.
How do you feel about sugar, the effects of sugar in your age?
Yeah, great question. I actually am a fan of just minimizing sugar as much as possible. And the reason for that is that we are modern humans with ancient biology. We're actually designed to not have a lot of sugar, and that's what our ancestors maybe 100,000, even 10,000, even 1,000 years ago had. So they didn't have as much sugar. And I don't know if you've experienced having a salmon steak or a really rich chocolate cake, and you kind of get halfway through and go, oh, I'm feeling that's too much. Well, when we have too much sugar, that's how our cells feel, and it's really not good for them, puts a lot of stress on them, and they don't like it, and it does definitely accelerate our aging.
Yeah, because then I also combat it with coffee, and that's never good either. Thank you so much, Greg. Great information.
You're welcome. It's great to see you. Bye.
Appreciate it. Bye. And we'll have more information about Greg and his book on our website at KATU.com. But do not go anywhere. Afternoon Live will be right back.